Have you ever turned on your favorite blues recording, started jamming along on guitar, and then gotten lost? This is frustrating. In fact, in my experience, most guitar players can't play through a simple blues without doing something called dropping the form. And this essentially means that they play the wrong chords at the wrong time. And this could be jumping a beat ahead, or slowing down the rhythm, or not allotting the correct amount of time on each chord before moving to the next one in the progression. You know, years ago when I studied with blues guitar legend Kenny Burrell, one of the ways that he would test his students is just have them play a simple blues. He viewed it as a great leveler. It really shows how fluent someone is with music, American music, from the past 100 years. Because so many popular songs are based on the same patterns and the same progressions. So once you can hear this, it can really open up a whole new world for you. But if you can't hear when the chords change, then it's very easy to get lost. So in this video, I want to share some simple tips, and there's only so much I can do in one video, and this is actually going to be a two-part video, so stay tuned for the second part. But ear training is so valuable because when you can hear this, you can play with so much more confidence, and you'll potentially never get lost in a blues form again. So that's what's possible when you know how. And the first thing I want to share with you is being able to hear the root note of any chord. So let's say I took a chord like C. Now the root note of this chord is the note that names the chord. So if the chord is C, then the root note is going to be C. So somewhere in this chord is the note C. And I happen to know that that's here and also here. This chord actually has two C's in it. If you look at all the notes, you got C, E, G, C, E. Now most chords are built from the root note and then stacked up in thirds. So a third is when you go three letter names. So C, if I did C, D, E, the next note would be E. So C, then E, and then if I kept going up those notes, E, F, G, that's another third. So if I take C, E, and G, then I've now created the notes of this C chord. So that's something called intervals. But the basic idea is it starts with that root. And this is the note a lot of times bass players play, right? Like, you know, you'll have a bass line that maybe is playing some groove with that root note, or it might play another note and then emphasize that root note, like, right? So that's, you hear that note? That's the root note. Now, sometimes you might have the bass note be a note that's not the root note, right? Like you could have what's called an inversion, and this is where you have a note other than the root note in the bass. But that doesn't change the root note. So in this example, I'm gonna play chords in root position, which means the root note is the lowest note we're hearing. So that's what you wanna do for this exercise. So if the chord is C, the bass note's gonna be C. If the chord is A minor in this example, then the bass note's gonna be A. So you have to find where that is on your guitar. So let's take an example. Can you hear the root note and just lightly, I'm gonna play the chord and just lightly hum it to yourself, or you can sing it. Here's the chord. So where's the root note? Bum. Can you sing this note? Now, you may have sang it in a higher octave. That's okay. The root is still the root, no matter what octave you sing it in. And when you do this exercise, depending upon your vocal range, just sing it in a register that works for your vocal range. So some C, and that's gonna be that note there on the 5th string, or you know, up the octave there on the 2nd string. So let's try another chord. Here's another chord. Can you hear the root note of this chord? So just hum it to yourself, and then da, and now I'm gonna Test that note. Okay, so it worked out. So if you sang a different note, then you want to listen to the note that you thought it was and then compare it with you're going for this idea of unison, which means that that root note is happening and then you're in unison with that root note, okay? So let's try another one. Can you sing the bass note or the root note of this chord? Dum, okay, or up the octave. So you listen for the root note and then you sing it and then you check on your guitar. So that's the first step, and then you can start to identify when the chords change. So for example, if I played a C, at this bass note, bum, and then bum, so I just went bum, bum, and that's the interval. That's called a perfect fourth. Bum, bum. It's going up to the fourth note in the scale, and when you can hear that shift, then you start to identify when the chord changes, and this is so powerful in music. So that's the first step, and this is going to help you for blues guitar because we're going to use just a couple simple chords for playing through a 12-bar blues, but you want to make sure that you can first identify the root note. So practice that with some chords, take it around your guitar and check yourself, and let me know how you did in the comments below. Now, if you need help with further training your ear and you want to be able to pick up the notes off all your favorite recordings, be able to pull out solos, and just play with so much more confidence, then go to johnmclennan.com/goldenear and download my free ear training cheat sheet. And this is going to show you some key points to start training your ears so you can really enhance all of your musical talents. And it's completely for free. Just go to johnmclennan.com/goldenear and grab that as my gift to you. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll really like this one next.